everybody, and welcome once again to the UnLearnT podcast. I am your host, Ruth Abigail, aka RA, and this is the podcast that is helping you gain the courage to change your mind so that you can experience just a little bit more freedom. And I have my friend, Mr. Kevin Palmieri, on the podcast once again. How you doing, Kevin?
RA, I'm living the dream. As you said behind the scenes, I guess I'm taking your line, but I'm gonna borrow it. I'm doing very well. I'm grateful to be back. I have nothing but love for you and what you're doing in the world. So I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of it.
Man, that's awesome. And Kevin, you've been an entrepreneur for how long now? 7 years, 8 years?
7 years. Yeah, 7 years.
Man, that's 7 years. So like, talk to me about, and particularly in this podcast space.
Yes.
Right? So like, this is, and I'm just jumping in because this podcast thing is very interesting because you have a lot of people who are so excited about, putting their voice out into the world, doing their thing, and they do it and then they don't, like, they stop. What, like, podcasting, I've had several people since we've started this podcast that have said, I want to start a podcast. I think I'm going to start some podcast. Okay. And they'll be like, and they'll ask me. And first of all, I'm like, I've only been in it for almost a year and a half. It'll be 2 years in January.
Nice.
And so I don't know that I'm the person to really ask, but it seems like it seems easy to do. Is it easy?
It's very easy to start. I said this a while ago. I said the lower the barrier to entry, the higher the failure rate. Yeah. It just makes sense because anybody can just go start a podcast for relatively low amounts of money. So you don't necessarily have to be super committed to learning the craft. You don't have to go above and beyond to figure out, like, how do I actually do this? The lower the barrier to entry, the more people will try it, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, many people will not stick with it. And that is the Planet Fitness model. The Planet Fitness model is we'll charge you $5 a month. So the barrier to entry is super low. It's a bigger pain in the butt for you to come cancel than it is just to not come. So we're making $5 passively every month. I think the podcast thing is kind of the opposite of that.
Yeah, man. It's so the amount of people that I know who have a Planet Fitness bill who have not been in the space.
Yeah. It's their business. It's their business model. I'm not a fan of it, but I understand. I understand why they do it.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. When the barrier to entry is low, then you're going to have a lot of people that start it but won't continue it. What has kept you in this? Why are you not that statistic?
For me, I never started this to be a business owner. I didn't understand I was naive, RA, in the beginning. I thought you pump out some episodes, you get a bunch of sponsors, and you're making just life-changing money. You don't have to worry about any of the business stuff. Don't worry about it. For me, I genuinely aspire to be the person that I needed at my lowest point. That's why I show up the way I show up, hopefully with energy and positivity and motivation and relatability and vulnerability. So for me, the through line of everything I do is based on I'm trying to be the person that I needed. That's part one. And part two, when I started this, it was literally my dream to be able to do it full time. So yeah, it sucked and I was broke and there was a lot of challenges, but I was making progress towards doing this full time, albeit very slow, dark, challenging progress.
Yeah.
So for me, I realized if I can get to the place where I actually get to do this sustainably, I am quite literally living my dreams. Yeah. And that's what kept me going. That and the impact. Those are the two things.
So one of the things that you and I have kind of talked offline a little bit, you gave me some great coaching tips when I first started earlier on. And one of the things that you talked about was just the importance of being relational, right? The importance of really not just you have to treat people like people, right? You have to follow up, you have to reach out, you have to, ask about how people are doing, all those things. And in the work that I get to do every day, relationship is also the currency, right? I work with young people, with families in the nonprofit space. It's currency. If you don't have a relationship, you don't have a business. Like, if nobody trusts you, you have nothing, right? Yeah. And not only within the podcast world, but also entrepreneurship, period. Trust with the consumer, trust with the people who are coming to engage you in that way is key. It seems like a simple thing, right? To continue a relationship. I have been so just encouraged by you following through on that. Like, you talked about it, but you also do it. Like, you will message me things that you think are relevant to what we're doing. You will comment on stuff. You reached out again to be on this podcast. Like, you are naturally, like, it matters to you. Relationship matters to you, and you're good at doing that. How does one get good at maintaining relationships?
Oh, man. Number one, I appreciate all the kind words and the compliments, genuinely. You understand that is the way. So it's a couple things. One, that's how you're going to be remembered. I am not going to be remembered on. Do you remember anything I said in the first episode? I don't. I don't remember anything. But I remember how positive you were. I remember your vibe, and I remember getting off and thinking, what a cool human. I would, and this is the thought process, I would love to spend more time around that person. What does that look like? I don't know. For now, it's going to be in the DMs. Maybe it's an episode in the future, whatever.
Yeah.
I think it is the fact that people, when they feel like you care about them, they start to care about what you do. It's the benefit of that is super, super, super high. Second piece, when I'm having conversations with people, I am quite literally learning what people are struggling with, so then I can actually add more value eventually. That's a big, big piece of it. And this is a kind of a big one for me. If you follow a business, or if you follow a brand, or if you follow a podcast, or you follow a content creator, and it's somebody that you look up to in some way, shape, or form, if they reach out directly to you, you are never going to look at them the same. You are going to feel like such a special human because, oh my goodness, my favorite podcaster, my favorite content creator, whatever, they reached out. Or my favorite pizza shop, they actually reached out and said, hey, thank you so much for being a valued customer. That goes a long way.
Yeah, it does.
So I think those are all really big pieces of it. And if you're somebody who values relationships, entrepreneurship can get lonely. So you having conversations with people is going to make you feel like you're less lonely. That's a big win too in my book.
That's huge. No, that's I literally, a friend of mine on Facebook just put a post saying, basically, anybody out there want to have a conversation, entrepreneurship gets lonely out here. Like, that was like a couple of days ago. And yeah, it is lonely. It's lonely when you are, it's it's lonely at the top, right? It is like there really aren't as many people as you think that can really identify with the things that you are having to handle and juggle and deal with every day. Like, it's a special place to be. It's a rare place to be, I mean, we've been talking about entrepreneurship and culturally, I think, a lot in the last few years, but the truth of the matter is not a lot of people do it well.
It's one of the things I've learned, and I don't, this is a blanket statement, but I don't mean it that way, but I've worked with a lot of individuals who have podcasts, brands, coaching stuff, businesses. And what nobody else on the planet would know is they have a wealthy partner behind the scenes that is paying for all the bills, so they don't really even have to win. I'm not making that wrong. And this is a weird thing, I coach them on the thing that they coach other people on because they can't figure out how to get anybody to coach with them. Again, I've been there. I know what it's like to struggle with that for sure. But it's weird. It's not, entrepreneurship is like podcasting.
Yeah.
You don't have to get an LLC. You can start a side hustle, and the barrier to entry is relatively low. So the seriousness it takes to do it is just less than it's ever been. So there's a lot of people out there that look like they're winning at a high level, and they're not. It's just, they have other means that you just can't see.
So let's talk about that for a minute, because I think that's, can you pull back the curtain a little bit more on that? Like, because, we see this lifestyle culture on social media that is promoting entrepreneurship because of the lifestyle. I think we kind of on some level all know some of that is very, very manufactured, right? From your experience, being in this game for, especially for those that were in pre-COVID, I think, after 2020, this kind of blew up, and everybody's an entrepreneur, and everybody's a podcaster, and everybody's a coach, and everybody's doing these things to make money that don't involve going outside into the world. So can pull back the curtain for us on that. What's really happening here that you see?
Man, yeah, people are far better at marketing than they are at sales, converting people to clients, and then adding meaningful value to those people. So it ultimately becomes, this is always my analogy. Okay, I go rent a really nice car. I post about that nice car all over my social media. Then I make a course on how to get a lot of social media followers.
Okay.
Then people are like, well, you have a bunch of followers, you must know. Cool. After a bunch of people buy that course, then I make another course on how to make a ton of money from being a digital influencer. And it becomes this ball and cup game where I never added any value to anybody. I just moved the ball from cup to cup long enough until the cup got really big and then there was dollars inside of the ball. That is wildly common.
Wow.
That whole process is wildly common. That's one. Second one is, I call them, and again, I don't mean this negatively. It's just something I've learned over the years. I call it second life entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. Somebody has a very, very successful business or company or job, 9 to 5, whatever it is, corporate gig. They make a ton of money. They save a ton of money. That money supports their lifestyle. And then they get to try the entrepreneurship thing. And it just doesn't really matter whether they succeed or not. Nothing wrong with that. But that's a whole nother thing that's happening. And then I think people are really good at picking out, I'm going to go to this event and take a picture with this person, even though I don't know this person and it's not like we work together or anything. There's a psychological term called burging. It's basking in reflected glory. This is why when your sports team is doing really well, you want to jump on the bandwagon,
right?
Because there's significance attached to that thing. Anytime I see a post about anything that I know is a perception builder, I'm usually thinking there's something behind the scenes. I have a nice car. I should probably post my car more. I don't want to because I understand the psychological effect it has. So I have to, if I have the awareness, I have to hold the responsibility of that too. So I don't know if that answers the question or if I went off on a completely different tangent.
It answers the question a lot. I want to go back to, I might want to drill down on all three of those, but let's go back to the first one, because that is, would you classify the when you were talking about moving the cup and the cup getting bigger until finally you find dollars under the ball?
Yeah.
Would you classify that as a scam?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had somebody ask me on a podcast recently. They said, well, isn't that, you have courses and stuff, isn't that what you do? And I said, everything that we've ever created is with the intention that after you do it, you don't need us. Not, you don't need me more after you do it. That's not how it works. So my job is to help somebody raise their awareness so they become more profitable. So whatever, their relationships are better. Other people, they don't, when you buy it, you're not getting your awareness raised. You're getting the wool pulled over your eyes. So yes, I would say it is a scam. Yep. I think there are different levels of the scam, but yes, I would say it's a scam.
Yeah, because like you said, I mean, it's really interesting how, so I listened to this one show and I really enjoy it. And there's a segment of the show where he interviews kind of startup entrepreneurs, like new entrepreneurs. And he is really, it's called The Hot Seat, and he is really he's coaching them, but he's pretty hard on them. And he asks some really good questions. And it's really interesting how many experts have been experts since 2020. It's, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, all right. And every time I listen to it, I'm hoping for, yeah, I've been doing this for the last 10 years, or I've been doing this since 2017 or whatever. And it's like, yeah, I started the company in 2021.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So like, it's so interesting how this culture of coaching and courses and these like information culture, right? Yeah. Where are people getting information from to be able to create these courses that, I mean, where does it come from? How is it that people are able to do all this? You know what I'm saying?
Some of it is just common sense that, so let's put it this way. If you've never posted on social media before, and I know how to post on social media and I know how to do hashtags and it's my story, that's a big leap, right? but I shouldn't sell that as how to make your first $1 million on social media.
Okay.
That should be positioned as beginners social media 101. By the end of this course, you will understand this, and this. After that, I think it comes from the perception that they have, and they hope that's enough value.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some of the contents of, there's a really good YouTube channel called CoffeeZilla, and he essentially breaks down scams in all sorts of spaces. But there's been a lot of influencers, and he'll go through their courses, and he'll tell you, like, this is the biggest waste of $5,000 ever. There's just something about the fact that they think their aura and they think their momentum and they think their reputation will get them through. So a lot of it comes from other people.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it comes from, how do I use my scam to help you scam people?
Yeah. Yep.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
I think the most valuable comes from experience, perspective, practice, and reflection. I think that's what wisdom is. That's what wisdom is. I've done this. I've sucked at it. I've gotten good at it. I've made all the mistakes, and now I can look back and figure out what meant what. I think that's what everybody aspires to in the long run.
Right. And that takes more than 2 to 3 years.
For most things. Maybe not everything, right? If you have a child that's 3 years old, you know infinitely more than I do about parenting.
That's fair. That's
right?
fair.
But
that's fair.
It is I see it often where I've been doing this 7 years. We have 1,830 episodes on one podcast. I have another 120. I've been on 900 other podcasts. So there's been I've coached hundreds of podcasts. It's been a lot of time under tension. I'll talk to someone who is like, I'm going to start coaching podcasters. It's like, okay, just be very careful, because you might be 100 episodes in, but if you haven't made any money and you don't really know, it's good. It's good to get 100 episodes in, but that's not necessarily the metric people are looking for. That's not the level of quote unquote success they're aspiring to. So that's another piece of it too, is you just have to know what the end consumer is looking for.
Yeah. No. And I think there's so much homework that has to be done. I've been talking to all these entrepreneurs at different levels doing different things, and it's been a really, really interesting conversation. One of the things that they've been teaching me is the homework that has to be done, right? On different levels. My last conversation was with a businessman out of a small town in Georgia. He's also the mayor of the town. But he has 12 businesses in town and has been doing it for a long time. And the thing that one of the things, and I think it's been a pretty common theme, it's like, there are things you just have to learn. You have to know, right? You got to know your numbers. You got to know your audience. You got to know the details of certain things, the way certain industries work, all this stuff. You can't just go into it because your passion's only going to get you so far, right? So from your experience, what should people be looking to really, if you're wanting to be entrepreneurial, and the way I look at it is like, you can be entrepreneurial as a true entrepreneur, where you're working for yourself, you get an income from the thing you're trying to do. Or you could be entrepreneurial within the context of a framework, right? It's just like, I get to try new things and, somehow profit in some way off of the thing within the framework I have. Okay. So whichever one of those categories, a lot of time, like you said, you started off doing this because you just wanted to be the person that somebody needed when you were in your darkest moment. That was a passion. I'm naming it that, but if it's something different, tell me. Passion drove you to begin it. Once passion leaves, right? what is the thing? Because I think that's where a lot of people stop. It's like, when I'm not passionate about it anymore, right? Yeah. I got into it for this, and now it's not that anymore. Help people with that. Like, what do I do with that?
I would say this: one of the biggest scams, one of the biggest, I call it self-improvement bumper stickers, is, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. That is not accurate.
That's not accurate.
That is not accurate. A lot of stuff I do, I love podcasting. I don't always want to do episodes.
Yep.
Very often do I wake up and say, there's no way I want to do 7 episodes today. Not a chance. I'd rather do anything else. But I'm always grateful at the end of the night, right? Yeah. It's 6:30 on a Friday, and I'm having the time of my life. This is awesome. But when I looked at my calendar today, I was like, God, it's gonna be a long one today. My goodness. But I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
I think there is, okay, this would speak to me. I used to have guilt about the fact that I actually wanted to make money as an entrepreneur because I am doing this to help people. I'm not doing this to get rich, but I do like money and I do like nice things and I do want to provide for my family. And I do think we provide a valuable service. There's this blurring of the line when people say, well, I just started this because I loved it. Awesome. Do you love it enough to make money so you can actually do it for long enough to have the meaningful impact that you want? All right, cool. Let's go there. When passion gets you into it, I think it is systems, organization, and then discipline that ultimately keeps you in it. And I didn't have any of that. I have a business partner. No, I didn't have any of that in the beginning. No. My business partner is a math genius and he's got a master's in business. So I'm very blessed to have a partner in the entrepreneurial journey. I had the passion. He had the systems.
Okay. Yeah.
He knew the numbers. These are the numbers. This is the mark. This is what we have to make. This is, that. When we were hiring team, he and I worked very closely to figure out what that would look like. So yeah, I think it's probably the thing that you hate doing and that you're not really good at. Somebody asked me one time, they said, what advice would you give to somebody in this X position? And I said, it's very hard to ever give blanket statement advice, but this is what I would say. Yep. Do the thing that is hard, that sucks, that you don't want to do, because the thing that you're already really good at is not your weakness. That is your strength. If you're passionate about it, you're probably really good at getting other people to buy into the mission, but maybe you're not good at making money. Maybe we need to learn sales. So it would be do the opposite of what you're already good at, because that's the weakness. And that's the thing that's going to come bite you in the butt in a couple of years.
One of my, so I do, my day to day, I'm a co-founder of a nonprofit and I lead it now, right, as executive director. And my predecessor, who's the founder and the former ED, one of the pieces of advice she told me was, do the hardest thing when you first wake up in the morning, and then you don't have to worry about the rest of the day. Right? She's like, do the thing you don't want to do. Send the emails to the donors, make the weird phone calls, do the things you have to do, and then the rest of your day is easy. And I'll never forget that. It was such great advice, because to your point, it has to get done. Yeah. I don't want to make the phone call to sometimes making phone calls to donors is great. Sometimes it can be awkward, right? You don't want to make the awkward phone call. So it's like, I'm gonna do it at 9:30. I'm get it done, right? And like, so I don't have to worry about it at 3:00 in the afternoon. And so I think I love what you're saying. Like, just the stuff you don't like doing, the hard thing, do that. Like, focus your energy on doing that. And then, because the other stuff, you don't really need you don't need much motivation to do that. You know what I mean?
It's the skill development. You're already really good at something.
Exactly. That's the point.
I was really good at consistency. Yeah. That's something I'm really good at. I'm very good at being consistent, but consistency without direction and or systems is just, you could be consistent in a circle all day long. It doesn't necessarily mean we're getting anywhere. So it's almost like we need to figure out early on, what are you really good at? I know some people that are just really good at sales. They will succeed anywhere they go because they can sell anything within alignment.
Right.
Awesome. But they probably need something else. Maybe they need somebody who's going to help them with marketing or whatever. So yeah, that's something I wish I knew earlier. I didn't realize what my strengths were, and I definitely didn't realize what my weaknesses were. And that's something it would have been valuable for me to know that sooner.
I want to talk about this word value for a second. You've used it a few times. You want to add value to people. How do you define value?
It's contextual. Right now, value in this moment is creating something worth listening to. From my end, right? So I want to make sure I'm adding value there. To somebody else, it might be being a shoulder when they need one. It's all I think of it as a positive bid.
Okay.
After the bid, you leave saying, I got more than I gave. I got more than I gave. I got more than I gave. That to me is adding value. Yeah.
I like that. I got more than I gave. Yeah.
The other person saying that, not me.
Correct. Right.
Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure. I'm taking value if I get out of here and say I got a lot there. I didn't do anything. That's awesome. Good for me.
No. You're not one of them. No. No, the person got more than they gave. I think that's great. Some people think they're adding value and they're not. How do you determine what value you're adding? Like, how do you know that you're adding value as an entrepreneur, as somebody out in the world that's serving other people with something that they can help them? How do you know that that's adding value to them?
Here's the interesting thing. You might know that you're adding value and the other person might not know that you're adding value. So you might actually not be adding value in the moment.
Okay.
So let's say you need permission to add value. So you and I get off here and RA has a couple questions for me, literally saying, hey, I'm giving you permission to try to add value into my life. Versus we get off here and I say, hey, take it or leave it. Just my 2 cents. Yeah. This is what I might do moving forward. That isn't valuable unless you think it is. Because it's conceptual. You might say, I can't believe he said that to me. I offered up my platform and he still had constructive feedback for me at the end of it. So for me, it's, does this person actually know that I'm trying to give them value? This is coming from a truly positive place. Do they know that I actually have the awareness or results that they're looking for? Okay. That is a huge component of this. Because if I don't have any podcast episodes, I can't tell you anything about podcasting.
Sure.
I will never get the permission to do that. So that's a piece of it. And then I think it depends on the relationship. One of the things we've said for a long time is the level of feedback, the level of value that you can give to somebody is directly connected to the level of relationship.
Yeah.
If I'm just meeting you for the first time, I'm not going to try to overpour for fear of intimidating you, offending you, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But as you get to know someone, like, I will never treat you the same after this. This is the second time. It's different. Now it's like, I will be looking out for you. I'm going to be looking for content. But now we have a deeper relationship than we ever have.
Yep.
So I would say it's kind of a mixture of all those things. Great question. What a fire question that was.
Well, the thing that I think is so important about entrepreneurship, you've said it a few times. It is a service. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a service. I am a musician. I've studied music. I'm around a lot of musicians, a lot of creators, right? And creators love their own creations. You know what I'm saying? Like, they love their thing. And it's like, oh my God, I can't, like, this is exactly what I want to do. And then you put it out in the world and the world may not love it as much as you do. And there's tension, right? I mean, and I'm using these between a lot of times the creator and then the people who are receiving what they've created. And then the question is, what am I more married to, my creation or the reception? And then what do I do? Like, which one matters to me most? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, we're ideas people. We come up with great ideas. Ideas are our creation. This is my idea. I want to put it into the world. You put it into the world and the world has stuff to say. How do you live in the tension of what's in your head versus then what's out there, and honoring the idea, but also recognizing if this is going to work, I got to have buy-in from people, right? Where's that tension? How do you work through that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know if I would have a truly valuable answer for that, because I am very compartmentalized and essentially everything I do is speaking, coaching, and podcasting at this point. And I happen to be in an industry of speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs and podcasters.
Yeah.
So every idea I already have kind of an active market to test it on.
Okay.
We had a new idea in terms of pricing and packages. I sent audio messages to like 10 people and just said, hey, I know we've talked about maybe working together in the past. I would just love feedback on what does this mean to you when you hear it? Boom, out the door. Awesome. Let's see what happens. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm not I'm far more worried from a place of judgment about the content I create as opposed to like the products or services I create.
Okay. Talk about that. Okay. All right.
I almost don't worry at all about the products and services because I had a mentor, Evan Carmichael, my friends and mentor, said this to me. He said, I'm not worried about disappointing people because I know I can make it up to them. And I said, what does that mean? He said, if I know things are going to happen and I'm human and everybody's human, and when I make a mistake, I just guarantee that I will make the mistake go away and I will make it better. I will just go above and beyond to make sure that the next experience is just the most positive experience possible. It's like, interesting. Okay, I can work with that. I think it's far easier. It's far easier for somebody to see a piece of content and judge it. Say, I can't believe you said that. How arrogant of you to say that. Because you don't know the person. But when you have a product or a service, the feedback you get is based on, I've used this and I know you and I know what you're like behind the scenes. And here's the other interesting thing. Oftentimes the feedback is true and more accurate even when it sucks. And that there is a piece because now I know I can do something about that. I can't, if RA comments and says, Kev, you're the worst speaker of all time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you didn't like my teaser clip. I'm trying my best. But if a client who is paying me X amount of dollars per month comes to me and says, hey, this ain't it, I now can talk directly to this person. I can say, can I get feedback? What isn't it? What is it about it that didn't work out? And then I can say, what can I do to make it up to you? And that becomes a beautiful experience. So I am somebody who likes messy action and I like to take risks, but messy action also creates its own unique problems when the action lands and the results are still messy. So that's still something I'm working through to this day.
But you know what? But I think but you know that about yourself. And I almost think as entrepreneurs, you know, and I'm going to put myself in this. I don't often put myself in that category, but I'm going to do it.
Do it.
I think that's probably who I really am. But like, as entrepreneurs, it's like the risk factor is an important. I mean, you kind of have to have that, right? I mean, like you have to be willing to risk some stuff. We just put on a first time event, a fundraising event for the organization I lead. And it was a risky event. We didn't know. I had no idea how it was going to turn out. It involved other like celebrities showing up and engaging. It was just like, and I've never dealt with people on that level before. And it was a little scary. About 6 weeks out, I was like, "Oh, I don't know what's going to happen." But it was a risk we thought we were taking. It ended up being totally worth it. Amazing day, great day, everything like that. But you have to be willing to work through that tension of I'm going to put this out here. I don't know how it's going to land. And then, like you said, the messiness on the back end. So I think that's something else I'd like to unlearning. What is it you've had to unlearn about messy? I feel like we live in a culture where messy is something. It's like that's so people are so messy averse. You know, we want the perfect picture, the perfect caption, all the right emojis, the right time, so we can get the right views, right? I mean, we have everything is curated. Messy is not something we're really interested in now, right? We can clean everything up. Yeah. What do we need to unlearn? What would you tell people who are entrepreneurial is important to unlearn about messiness?
Not having the desire or willingness to take messy action is quite literally holding you back from getting the desired results eventually. If you think of anything, a video game, an app, YouTube is great now.
Yeah, right.
But it wasn't in the beginning.
It was not.
Right?
Bad.
It wasn't. Tesla is a great company now. It wasn't in the beginning. None of these companies, we're using a platform right now called Riverside.
Yep.
Riverside's good now. But I'm telling you, the early adopters had a list of things that were wrong with it, and the team went to work on it. It's the understanding that there are the majority of places don't really need to have perfect action. If I'm getting on a plane, I don't really want there to be a ton of messy action. Like let's ground it and fix the thing, and I'll be late for whatever. Correct. I'm good with that.
Yes.
Medicine, that's another one. We probably don't want a ton of messy action in medicine.
Yeah.
But when it comes to your social media post, nobody's going to remember it a day from today.
Correct.
The consumer, especially if they're not purchasing something from you, has a very, very, very short attention span. And we're all, as content creators, complaining about that. So it is a fact. It's a reality. So if we're going to complain about it on one end, we also can use it to our advantage on the other end.
Right.
That's one thought. And the second thought is almost nothing you do is going to be the final product when you put it out. When you started, did you have this mic? Probably not, right?
No.
Right? Were you doing video in the beginning?
No.
So would you be where you are today if you didn't start where you were capable of starting? No.
Right. No.
It doesn't. You don't go from never making a song to being Taylor Swift. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. So I think what we have to understand is if you can detach the feedback you get about something and not personalize it. It doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you're not valuable. It doesn't mean your podcast or business or brand isn't great. It just means somebody found it and they're having a bad day and they're going to try to share their bad day with you. But there's a bunch of people out there that are having a great day and they want to share their great day with you too. The reason, I'll give you this. I have worked with a bunch of podcasters who I work with and they say, I can't tell you, I've been waiting 3 years to do this. Why? Because I don't know. It just never felt right. It never felt good enough. It never will.
Yeah.
I told somebody that the other day. I said, you are paying me to help you take messy action. That's all you're doing. That's it. And I'm going to be on you.
I like that.
It's just, you cannot improve something that does not exist in reality. And I think for a lot of us, especially if you're early as an entrepreneur, you need that proof. You need to put it out there and see what happens. Who knows you never know what's going to happen. You never will until you put it out there. And that's messy action in a nutshell. And you can always clean it up later.
Yep.
That's going to be the process, is testing, getting results, shifting, testing, that's entrepreneurship in a nutshell.
What was one of the first things that you had to fix when you got into this?
Jeez. Everything. Audio quality. I was upset. The first episodes we recorded were just terrible. It sounded like I was in a tin can. And that became my obsession. It became my obsession.
Really?
I need to fix the audio. I need to make it better. What mics? What filters? The room, echoes, curtains, carpets make a big difference. Oh my gosh. I was so obsessed with making the audio quality good. I'll give you a recent one. We sunk thousands of dollars into an app.
Okay.
So we are a company that is all about self-improvement. I track habits every day. My business partner tracks habits every day. All of his clients track habits every day. Our entire team tracks habits every day. Logically, it would make sense for us to have a habit tracking app. Just makes sense.
Okay.
The version 1 is garbage. It is, we don't even talk about it. And we took it off our website.
Okay.
Because I'm not saying it wasn't good to take messy action.
Sure.
We're not willing to sink another $5,000 to get it up to version 2 yet.
Yeah.
When we are, same thing's going to happen. We're going to do it, and it's going to be better than version 1, but worse than version 3. And eventually it will cross a chasm where I believe in it enough to say, RA, we got this app.
Yeah.
And I feel like you would benefit tremendously from it. Honestly, right now, I do not feel that way. We're not there yet, and that's totally fine. This is the process of iteration. You iterate as you go. So right now we're currently dealing with that exact thing and figuring out, like, how messy do we want this action to be before we lose credibility with the audience. When they go into it and it's not good, I don't want to lose credibility.
Right.
So that's that kind of that fine line.
I love this messy action. I love that, first of all. Like, I love that term. That is so, because people don't like to take action when it's messy. You want to wait till it's the right time. It's never going to be the right time. It'll always be messy. And I love that. And I like, it's the iterative process, right? It is doing something, trying it, fixing it. Doing something, trying something, fixing it over and over and over again. Is there anything in your business that you feel like you've gotten right?
Our commitment to talking to the audience.
Okay. Yeah.
We've definitely gotten that right. the thought, and my business partner had this, not me, the thought process of, if we just do more episodes than anybody else, we'll probably get pretty good at this. Just, I mean, 27 or 2,800 episodes in total. I have to be somewhat reasonable at this by now. If not, I'm in the wrong business for sure.
Yep.
That just the process of small improvements, Atomic Habits 101, that I would say, yeah, it was based on what we did wrong. When we were looking to bring on team members, we would look at accomplishments first. Accomplishments and competence.
Okay.
That bit us in the butt in the beginning.
Man.
Now it is character. I don't care what you know. I don't care. We can teach you that. I cannot teach you humility. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to teach somebody humility. If you don't have it, you don't have it. There's something about somebody that comes to you. One of the best examples. We were talking to this gentleman who was interested in coming on the team. His name's Brandon. And we did like an interview with him, virtual interview. And we said, what are your skills? What are you really good at? And he said, honestly, I don't know. I'm not really good at anything, but I'll work really hard. I'm open to learning. And yeah, I believe in the mission. Cool, man. You're good. You're welcome. Welcome aboard.
Love it.
That I think we've really gotten right, because our team is just incredible in terms of what everybody is capable of, but just the culture.
Yeah.
We cry on our team calls. We are just there to support each other. Our team is just the best in the world.
Yeah.
So I would say we've gotten that right, and that we've gotten that right in terms of saying this person would be really good, and then they got it right when they came on the team and grew and evolved and worked on themselves. Being on a team that is a company of self-improvement is not easy.
No, I bet it's not.
Because I want to help you in your relationship. I want to help you with your finances. I want to help you with your self-awareness, all of that stuff. That is, our team calls and our team trainings are different. But a shout out to everybody on the team showing up and doing their own personal self-improvement. So that's on them, not on me.
You said y'all track habits.
Yep.
What does that look like? Like, what are some habits that people track? Like, how do you like, you know what I'm saying? How does that look like?
Yeah, right now, I think I track probably 25 habits or something. It's 30 minutes of exercise, 30 minutes of learning. Every day I track our listens. Every day I look at our bank account. That's kind of under like business. Yeah. But I think if you have KPIs and specific measurements in your business, you can cross those over to your love life and your finances.
Talk to me. How?
Every night before I go to bed, my wife and I play the gratitude game.
Okay.
So we say one thing we're grateful for about one another. I have something that I track, and it's literally labeled Kitchen Kev. So it's my job. It's my responsibility in our household to make sure the kitchen is clean and the dishes are done. That's me. That's Kevin thing. If they're not done, it's on me. It's not on anybody else. It's on me. The reason is because I dislike them less than my wife does.
Yep.
And when there's a clean kitchen, the household just runs better. There's less stress. There's less. We don't have to poke at each other. Like let's take care of that.
Yep.
Under health is like exercise every day, meditate, that type of stuff, journal for people. That on the team, it's different because some of it's like, this is your department. This is what you're responsible for. But everybody has their own personal stuff in there.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people on the team have fitness streaks of. Brandon has run a mile every day for the last 2 years straight. Hasn't missed a day. He is a very consistent human. Amy on the team has exercised every day for over a year.
Wow.
30 minutes a day. That type of stuff. Because that's what's going to help you grow as a human. It's you doing self-improvement for yourself. So those are some examples. So,
like you said, being a part of a team that does self-improvement isn't easy. It's a fit issue, right? What's the CEO of or the founder of Southwest was famous for saying you hire for fit, not skill. And it was essentially what you just said. You hired for skill, it didn't work. No. Like, isn't that crazy? Like, you wouldn't think that would, like, that's so that doesn't make sense. Like, so it's so paradoxical. Like, what you would think that I'm going to hire the person that feels like they could do the job at the best level. And that it's like, well, duh, check that box. That makes perfect sense. Look at the resume and all this stuff. Um, I feel you. I have been in a similar situation, right? I've been in similar situations where it's like, yo, like, and it's not that they're not great, but I think also, and I think entrepreneurs and people that are entrepreneurial, this is one thing that is important for to is important to think through, is you have to think through all the layers of what you're doing, right? It's not just about what you do, especially when you start bringing on other people. It's about the whole, and you have to really think about that. um and your brain can't just be on your own task. It's got to be on, you know, I got to figure out these things need to get done, but also like who's going to do them and what is the culture going to be like and all these things. It gets really complicated when you start bringing on extra people
quickly.
like,
Yeah,
right?
quickly. It's
Like,
to your point. It's not about I can work with anybody. Whatever. I'll just grind it out. It's not that big of a deal. I'm more worried about the culture of the team.
yes.
Is this person going to come in, and are they going to rub people in the wrong way when
Yep.
we have a very, very safe team? I think that's a very good point. It's not necessarily about me. I'm not really super worried about it. I'm more worried about the people that this person's going to be working directly around, and what's that going to do?
Yeah, that's huge, because they have to like where they are. Like, they have to like where they are. They have to contribute where they are. You know, the idea of them adding value is also important. So it's like, you know, how do you create that culture? I think that's another part of people who are entrepreneurs and who want to grow certain things. You get into it for one reason, and then you have to continue to build skills. That's why I think, you know, you know, a lot of these companies, especially these larger companies, the founders have a term limit, because at some point you got to bring in somebody who understands how to manage the business and manage not just the business but the people, right? And lead people. And maybe that's not your strong suit. You are the creator, you're the ideas person, you know how to get something off the ground. Let me ask you this: as an entrepreneur, how do you know when it's time for you to leave?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. Because I haven't, and I don't plan on it.
Yeah.
So I would say when the goals are no longer aligned,
Yeah.
when the process is no longer aligned, or when you realize you're doing more damage to the business than good. I would say those are probably, everything is a matter, for me at least, of a matter of core beliefs, core values, and core aspirations. So if your core beliefs have changed and it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. All right, cool. If your core values have changed and it takes you away from the other stuff that you're starting to value more, all right, that's a conversation. And then if your aspirations of the company have changed and you realize you're not going to be capable of getting the company to a place that you really want to get it to, or it's already there, then it takes a lot of humility to say, well, yeah, this is probably it for me. I remember however many years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, we were having the talks of who was going to be the CEO of our company. And I was like, Alan's going to be the CEO. It's not going to be me. I'll run this thing into the ground. I would absolutely run this thing into the ground. I'm a really good number 2. I'm not a number 1. I'm a really good number 2. I'm a great operator. I'm very consistent. I am not a visionary. At the beginning of this, I could see what was directly in front of me, and that was it. Now my time perspective is different. But I think humility is one of the most valuable things.
That's huge.
As an entrepreneur.
For you to even say that, right? I'm a number 2. I'm a great number 2. I'm not a number 1. Man, that right there, you just don't hear a lot of people that self-aware. Like as knowing that, you know what I mean? Like,
I want to win, Ruth. I'm here to win. I'm here to add value. I'm here to change the world. I would rather be successful as a number 2 than not successful as a number 1. I don't need the plaque on my door. I don't need that. I want to live in reality. I want to live in reality. And in reality, I am not as good as a business owner or a CEO as my business partner.
Yeah.
He has a master's in business. In what world am I better for this? Why? There was some people that we knew and we worked with, and I said, they're in trouble. And Alan and I were having a conversation. He said, why? And I said, because they're co-CEOs. Why are you co-CEOs? You need 1. You don't need 2. That's an ego play. That's somebody didn't have the courage or the vulnerability to say, yeah, honestly, I think you're probably better for this. And
Yeah.
I think that's a company that is potentially in trouble if that doesn't get sorted out.
One of my mentors said 2 heads is a monster.
Yeah.
And you cannot operate that way. Like, it just doesn't work that way. You think you could, like, you want to think you can. It's like, because we have such a great relationship, and we have these strengths and these strengths. And I was listening to somebody the other day, who said, at the end of the day, I want to I want to I want to be the reason that I have the majority ownership in all my businesses is because I want to be the one. If there's a bad call, I want to be the one to make it.
Mm.
Right? Like, there's a level of ownership that he's willing to take, um, because he's like, somebody's got to make the hard call. I'll do it, but in order to do that, I got to be the one on top.
Yeah.
You know, and I loved that. I was like, because at the end of the day, that's really, I mean, I'm that's not all that a CEO is somebody who but that's a lot of it. Like, I'm choosing to become the person who's got to do the thing nobody else wants to do.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge.
Well, I had a conversation with Alan right before this. I said, dude, you're leading the charge. It is up to you. It's up to us. It's up to everybody. But you set the standard. Your standards are higher than mine. They just are. You're a more well-developed, well-rounded human than I am. No, I'm not talking bad about me. This is just the truth. You are setting the stage. You are setting the speed. You are setting the standard. That's an unfortunate yet powerful responsibility that you have.
For sure.
And he loves it. So it works, right?
Yeah.
It works. But I don't set the standard. In some things I do. In our production and that stuff, that's my thing. Cool. But not the entire business, not leadership. That's him.
So as we kind of wrap up, I would like you to talk a little bit about this partnership, like, because you've mentioned Alan several times. You obviously respect him as a leader, as a partner. You guys do work really well together. I mean, what are the challenges though of partnership? Because like entrepreneurship, sometimes you do it solo, but you all have chosen to do it together. You've been in it together for 7 years, which is longer than a lot of people last as partners. What's challenging about that? And what are some things that you all have had to work through?
So I'll start by saying it's the best, and we're brothers, and we argue occasionally, but what we have is so unique, and I'm so blessed. We went to middle school together, high school together. He was the first guest on my podcast. I was the first guest on his YouTube channel. So it became, and one of our core wounds is both of us grew up without fathers. So we have something that we used to spend Father's Day together every year when we started this. And then we made a foundation and all this. His extremely long time perspective is a challenge because he'll do something now that won't pay off for 15 years. And we've spent /wasted /invested a lot of money on stuff that just is not going to pay off for a long time. We did live events, and it was pretty much $7,000 to $10,000 every time.
Yep.
And it was really hard to recoup that money. Like, we lost money pretty often when we were doing live events. Like, that sucks.
Yep.
So it was that his extremely long time perspective. He requires very little certainty. If anything, he operates better from a place of scarcity.
Oh man.
It doesn't matter if there's $1 in the bank or $1 million in the bank. Honestly, if there's $1 in the bank, he's more motivated.
Wow.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah, give it $1 million.
I would rather have $1 million in the bank and feel abundant, because that's not really, I'm not going to take my foot off the gas. If anything, I might work harder because I know I feel safe. I feel everything's good. So he's very risk. He's all about risk. I'm very risk averse. That for a long time, he's an engineer, so he didn't understand what it was like to think emotionally. Everything was, no, this is optimal. Like, well, no, there's feelings involved too. It's only optimal if it feels optimal to someone too. You have to understand that.
Yeah.
So a lot of it has just been, he works 7 days a week, probably 90 hours a week.
Shoot. Yep.
I said, Alan, I don't want to work 90 hours. Like, I'll work 70. I'm fine with that. But he works all day Saturday. He takes Sunday off, but he doesn't. He works
doesn't.
on Sundays.
Yeah.
That was a big fear of mine, that I was going to have to live my life the same exact way as he did. So I think one of the big things was me having the courage to be vulnerable enough to say, I know for most of our business partnership, I tried to be like you. Now I'm taking the amazing benefits and the amazing skills and your amazing strengths and then adding them on to me, instead of me chameleoning myself to you.
That's good.
And he's been all about that. I just was afraid I was going to get left behind. I have a terrible fear of not being good enough. So me bringing it up and saying, hey, I want to be more like me, but I want to be magnificent and all these things. That was one of the hardest things. A lot of the hard things have been the internal stuff because we're so focused on self-improvement. It's like, sometimes the business stuff is the easy stuff. It's the, hey man, I feel like I'm going to get left behind, or hey Kev, I feel like I haven't been fully authentically myself lately. Those have been a lot of the challenges.
That's really good. I want to do, because you've mentioned it several times, I want to give you a chance to really just like lay out what you do and what you focus on.
Okay.
And then I'd love for you to just share with folks out there that are interested in being entrepreneurs, maybe they're currently entrepreneurs or have an entrepreneurial mind or whatever, just have an idea that they want to try. What is a one or two key unlearnings that you have to have?
Okay. So I am the host of Next Level University, a global top 100 podcast with 1,800. I don't even know how many episodes we have. 1,830, I think. So we do an episode every day. So I'm doing predominantly podcasting. I work with podcasters, speakers, and coaches who want to grow, scale, and monetize their podcasts. I do a ton of that. Dozens and dozens. We have 50 clients right now. Yeah. And then I also head our production company where we do audio editing and video editing for those clients. So the majority of what I do is podcasting, which is genuinely a dream come true for me because that's what I wanted in the beginning. And then I speak on podcasting and I coach on podcasting. Couple things that I had to unlearn. Man, this one's going to suck. In the beginning, the market dictates your pricing more than you do. I know we all want to charge $10,000 an hour. I know. You can't until you have the right things. Nobody's going to pay you $10,000 an hour just because you want to charge $10,000 an hour. If you charge $10,000 an hour, you better add $1 million worth of value.
Man.
That is one in the beginning. And then the second one is, if you build it, they will come. No.
Lies.
No. It sounds good, but you can build it. And you can have fun building it. And it can be fulfilling building it. And it'll be hard and it'll be challenging and it'll teach you things about yourself that you didn't know you needed to know. But eventually you're going to have to go out and find the people and bring them back to the wonderful creation that you've built. That is one that I just think I was misled by a lot of the stuff I was seeing. It's like, just start a podcast and people will come. It's like, no, that's not the way it works. And then, this is my belief. There's no such thing as work-life balance. I don't believe in it.
Man.
I think it's a juggling act.
Agreed. I love that.
See, I thought I might get
alone.
some. Yeah, I know, but I don't want to be the guy who bursts the bubble and
burst it.
I'm with RA right now. Okay. I'm not with my wife. I'm not making any money doing this. I am doing the craft of podcasting. I'm not at the gym. I'm not getting in any better shape doing this. This right now is business. It's 7:08. So when we finish up here, whatever, and that's not a time. I don't care. I'll stay as late as you want. When we finish up here, I will wrap up messages, make sure clients are taken care of, and then I'm going to go spend time with my wife.
Yeah.
The business is not growing when I'm spending time with my wife. Now, I understand. Well, Kev, you're more fulfilled when you spend time with your wife, and you're in better shape when you're at the gym, so it gives you more energy. Yes. But I have to be very, very particular about my priorities, and I have to choose. If I want to get up at 5 a.m. tomorrow, that'll give me more time to accomplish stuff. If I want to sleep till 8, I'm not going to be able to do as much. And that's okay. But I wish I knew that earlier. It's not about balance. It's about juggling.
Man, that's good.
Eventually you get better at juggling. So now I can juggle more. I can get more done in less time. I can multitask a little bit. That I know what is required here is different than what is required here. I know there's seasons. I was out of shape for a minute because I wasn't focused on fitness. I was focused on business. All right, cool. How do we avoid that? So yeah, I would say work-life balance is maybe something to desire, but in my experience, it's more of a juggling act than anything.
I heard it said, don't try to achieve balance, try to achieve harmony. And if your life is harmonious, if it works together well, which means there are going to be seasons of more work than family, more family than work, you know.
Yep.
You have to make I think I'm so glad that I hear more and more people saying that. That is one of the truest things. This work-life balance is a myth. You can't do it. Like, it's never been able to be done. You know, even when the term was started, it was never that way. Like, yeah, I think that's so good. And I think people need to hear that more, especially those of us who want to be our own boss. Like, well, good luck with balance there.
Yeah. It's the I think one of the misconceptions is you can get all of the upsides of being an entrepreneur without any of the downsides.
Come on, man.
And I don't know in what world that exists. It's like, if I'm going to be in better shape, I'm most likely going to be a little bit hungrier than I am right now.
Yep.
That's kind of, I think that's just kind of the law of nature and the way it works. So I think expectations are a dangerous thing. Not in a bad, not in a negative way, but if you expect that, I'll do this for a year and then I'll have it'll be fine. Work-life balance, passive income. That's another, don't even get me started on that. Those are the ones.
I love that. I just gotta add this on. I heard a preacher. There's a preacher that I listened to. His name is Darius Daniels, and he said two things that I always sticks with me. He says, like, you know, we ask for things, we ask God for things. We never think about the backside of a blessing. And then he says, like, more of anything is more of everything. Like, you have to know that more money is more responsibility, right? More a relationship, more relationships, more time. Like, you know, I got friends that are single. I want to be married. Okay. Yeah. And marriage is great. I've been married for almost just over a year. We're still fresh, but like, it's different. I mean, okay, it's great. And there's a whole human that you're with in your house all the time. Like, they're not going anywhere. I mean, you know, so like, that's the reality. So, you know, more of anything is more of everything. And to your point, you can't get the good stuff without the other stuff. And then it's always bad, but it's an adjustment. Like, are you ready to adjust? And sometimes I don't know that a lot of people are ready to adjust. I love that, that's one of the things that you're saying people have to unlearn. You have to adjust to what comes with what you have always wanted.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's not about, last thing, I promise. It's not about the goal. It's about what you're willing to do to accomplish the goal. The goal is awesome. Everybody loves the goal. Yeah, I want $1 million this, $1 billion that, whatever. The reason we don't accomplish the goals is usually not because we wake up one day and say, that ain't it. It's usually because we say this lifestyle is not sustainable with the things that I value as a human. And that's okay. That's okay. It's not a big deal.
No, it's all right. Yeah, man, we could probably keep going on because we could probably go back and forth. This has been great, Kevin. Thank you for coming. Tell people where they can find you, how they can connect with you, all that jazz.
Next Level University is our podcast. If you're a podcaster, I have a podcast called Podcast Growth University. So that might be more beneficial to somebody who is a business owner or a podcaster, whatever it is. And then my handle on Instagram is @NeverQuitKid. Questions, comments, concerns, anything I can do to add value, send me a message. I will get back to you. I do my own DM. So I'm just a message away always.
It's true, y'all. He does get back to you. He messages me. So yeah, man, Kev, thanks. This is great.
My pleasure.
And man, I look forward to continuing to partner with you, have other conversations. You'll be back for sure. You just let me know. All right, guys. Thank y'all again. Thanks for listening to the UnLearned podcast. Let's keep unlearning together so that we can experience more freedom. That's it. We'll see y'all later. Peace.